Although Ouija boards, or talking boards, began their existence as a mass-produced toy in 1890, they are commonly accepted as a reliable means of contact with the spirit world. Various means of divination and spiritual contact have been developed and used for centuries, but none have had the widespread societal impacts that the Ouija board has, and so in this video we take a look at our top 5 creepy Ouija board stories. We chose a mix of first-hand accounts and stories found online, and would love to hear your own experiences in the comments section. Let's begin. Number 5. Put the lights out. In the mid-1970s, a group of teenage girls having a sleepover decided to use the Ouija board as part of the sleepover entertainment. After playing the game for a few hours and getting little to no response, the planchette began to exert enough force to move around the board, slowly spelling out the words, "too light." As expected in situations of the Ouija board's use in groups, the girls were convinced it was intentionally moved by one of the group as a joke. The girls decided to do nothing about the lights, playing along with the apparent joke. The board continued to spell out, "put the lights out," and at this point all the girls were laughing along, and one requested the spirit do something about the lights if it was so concerned. As though in direct response to this, each of the blinds above the windows slowly dropped down and began to bathe the room in darkness. Naturally, the girls ran screaming from the room, never to touch the board again. Number 4. A town's Ouija board hysteria. In March of 1920, police in a small Southern Californian town arrested 7 individuals. These 7 people, for no immediately apparent reason, began acting in highly unusual manners, suggesting a sudden onset of mental instability. Their behavior included, but was not limited to, running through the streets in varying degrees of undress, and over the next few days this unstable and hysterical behavior began to spread throughout the town. It wasn't until a young girl of only 15 was apprehended by police after being seen running naked through the town, and when questioned as to why, she replied that she could communicate with the spirits better when she was naked. When a police officer stripped naked and ran into a bank screaming uncontrollably, the people of this small town were terrified and demanded the local officials call in as many specialists as they could, in hopes that they could find out what was causing this sudden and intense change in behavior. Whilst investigating the cause of this phenomena, it was found that the original 7 people arrested had all taken part in a group Ouija board session. After this bizarre incident, the city council moved to ban the sale and use of talking boards within the district, in hopes that the mass hysteria would never reoccur. Number 3. John Lennon's predicted assassination. In December 1969, a British film crew followed John Lennon and Yoko Ono for 5 days to make a short documentary for the daily news programme 24 Hours. One segment showed John and Yoko in bed while John opened packages and fan mail. Both laugh when John reads an eerily prophetic letter.
Dear Mr. Lennon, from information I received while using a Ouija board, I believe that there will be an attempt to assassinate you. The spirit that gave me this information was Brian Epstein.
Number 2. Cindy and Jake. Cindy was only 13. She was the middle child within a large devoutly Christian family. She had 3 older sisters, a younger sister, and a younger brother. At some point during the 8th grade, a friend lent her a Ouija board for the weekend, and that weekend Cindy and her older sisters played with the board. They did so in secret, late at night, because they knew how strongly their parents would disapprove. After first using the board, Cindy was enthralled and soon became obsessed. She could think of nothing else and soon had a list of questions she wanted to ask the board. Cindy had an hour every day after school where she was alone in the house before her older sisters returned from high school. So Monday afternoon, right after getting home from school, she went to her room, set up the board on her bed, and gently laid her fingertips on top of the planchette. After just 10 minutes of sitting quietly, the planchette started to move softly across the board. It spelled out H-I, and Cindy's breath caught in her throat. "Hi," she answered. "Who are you?" J-A-K-E. A chill ran over her. Jake was an old friend of hers who had died in a car accident in the 4th grade. As time went by, Jake started to become more and more sinister. Eventually, Cindy realized this was not Jake at all. She demanded to know who she was talking to, and the entity revealed itself as a demon and threatened Cindy to never tell a soul about their conversations. Number 1. The Possession. In 1951, a young boy's aunt always encouraged her nephew to play with the Ouija board. It's unknown if the aunt's intentions were inherently malicious or that she just didn't know any better. The aunt fell ill and suddenly passed away, and the boy, in his grief, decided to use what his aunt had taught him and employed the Ouija board in hopes that he might get a chance to talk with her again. Not too long after the Ouija board experiment, very strange things started to happen within the house. The family started to hear scratching on the walls and objects would fly from shelving and cabinets. Then the boy started to get scratches all over his body, as though attacked in the night. One evening, the boy's parents heard their son screaming at the top of his lungs. When they ran into his room, they saw his bed levitating. It said the boy eventually began showing signs of various mental afflictions and acting in ways which were hard to describe as anything but demonic possession. He spent the next year in and out of mental health facilities and eventually underwent dozens of exorcisms in a last-ditch attempt to alleviate his symptoms. The Washington Post first reported this incident on August 10, 1949. The article stated that medical science could not cure this boy, but a Catholic priest could after he performed an exorcism. And this true story became the cornerstone for the movie The Exorcist. So there you have it. That was our top 5 list of creepiest Ouija board stories. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to like and subscribe, as it will allow the channel to grow and continue to provide more regular content. Check back on the start of Halloween week for extra content and our next video on the world's creepiest cemeteries. Until next time.